Thank you. That was over the top. I really appreciate it. I should say, to begin with, I have a lot of friends in the room. Some of them haven't seen me for a long time. I come here with a cane for an innocuous reason. I'm getting a new hip next week, and I'll be fine. But for the moment, I need a cane. Let me just speak briefly. I'm inspired by seeing these extraordinary pictures on the wall. I want to say just a few words about friendship and gratitude. We have a special relationship between our two countries. There are more German Americans than there are any other kind of Americans. And the special friendship survived a very difficult century in which we went to war twice. And even though we did, the United States had the Dawes Plan in 1924, the Young Plan in 1929, and most remarkably, the Marshall Plan in 1947, most remarkable because of what had happened and what we knew had happened in the period before. Nonetheless, under the leadership of Marshall, but with the full support of the Truman administration, the United States decided that we needed to rebuild Germany. And in doing that, we were rebuilding an entirely different Germany. The Germany that emerged after the Second World War is unlike anything that had existed before, and became the great partner and friend of the United States over a long period of history, which endures as strongly today as it did in earlier years. We just heard in the comments just before how important and close it is. And in the context of these years, the Brandt administration, speaking for all parties, decided in 1970-71 that they wanted to do something that no other country's ever done, and that was to say thank you, and say thank you in a meaningful way, because the gift that the German government agreed to, and which was supported by all parties in Parliament, was a very large gift. It was 250 million marks. It was initially 150 for 15 years, subject to possible extension. Willy Brandt, in doing that, was seeking to affirm the closeness he felt to the United States in a period in which he was embarking on a very dynamic and important new policy of Ostpolitik. And I think part of the thinking was that he wanted to signal how much the American friendship mattered. In doing that, he asked somebody whom many of you will not know the name, Alex Möller, who was finance minister in the cabinet that came into office in '69, but who was a great figure in the Social Democratic Party, but who was greatly respected in the CDU and the FDP as well. If he would represent Germany in negotiating this gift, he did it. And as you can read in that little history, which has been put out by the fund and which is nicely put together, he asked me to be his counterpart. I had no particular standing. I was a 33-year-old academic. I had a famous father. My father had negotiated reparations and restitution with Germany. I think without that, I would not have been the candidate. But in any case, what we chose to do was remarkable from the German point of view. The trust, the breadth of the mandate, the degree to which they allowed an American group that was self-appointed to then designate its own successors, which is what we have done over these many years, these 40 years. And that is a remarkable gift. I should say as a side word that Alex Möller's goddaughter, Daniela Eswein-Hardig, is here with us tonight. Alex Möller was a remarkable figure, and he deserves to be remembered. In a certain way, we are a memorial also to him. 15 years later, a different government led by Helmut Kohl affirmed the importance of the fund and committed itself to 10 more years of funding, which is very important in terms of what we're able to continue to do. And that decision very possibly might not have happened if Wolfgang Schäuble had not been such an emphatic spokesman on behalf of the importance of the fund. It was with Schäuble that I negotiated the extension. If you look fast forward to the present time, you see an institution for which I take very little responsibility. The real responsibility belongs to the other President Kennedy. He didn't, not the one with the donut, and it's Craig Kennedy, because Craig Kennedy has led this organization for the past 16, 17 years to remarkable new achievements. We now have a budget of $40 million a year. 70% of our budget comes from other governments and other foundations. Only 30% comes from the original very generous German gift. We are a major convener. I think people are aware of the importance of the Brussels Forum, of the MMF fellowships. People might not be so aware that we have now reached out actually to China and India. We're about to do a major conference in Rabat, which will focus on transatlantic relations, but they are South Atlantic. They will focus more on Brazil, Latin America, and Africa, with participation also of North Americans and Europeans. Remarkable innovation. Every time I come to a board meeting, there's something new, exciting, and usually it's being paid for by somebody else. So I think what we did here was we created a framework in which Americans who really responded to the generosity of the gift were challenged to do the best they could, and I hope that we have done well with it. In any case, I want to say on behalf of the American people and of our board, it was a privilege to be able to do that, and I therefore want to thank all of those who were responsible, all the Germans who are in the room, for giving us that opportunity. Thank you.